The Whispering Void. Katsuo Nakamura was a man of science, a physicist who had dedicated his life to unraveling the mysteries of the universe. But nothing could prepare him for the enigma that lay at the heart of Aokigahara, the sea of trees at the base of Mount Fuji. He arrived at the infamous forest with trepidation, his heart heavy with the tragic history associated with the place. As a scientist, he was there for a different reason, not associated with the personal tragedies that typically led people into the depths of the forest. He was there to investigate anomalous energy readings that his instruments had detected, originating from the heart of the forest. His first steps into the forest were surreal. A blanket of silence enveloped him, the typical sounds of the forest strangely muted. The trees stood tall and foreboding, their gnarled roots snaking across the forest floor like ancient, twisted serpents. For the first few days, Katsuo's investigation yielded nothing unusual. But late one night, as he was studying the readings on his instruments, he noticed a strange pattern. The energy spikes were not random as he had first thought. They followed a rhythm, like a heartbeat. His curiosity piqued, Katsuo decided to venture deeper into the forest. Guided by his instruments, he arrived at a small clearing dominated by an ancient, towering tree. It was here that the readings were the strongest, the rhythmic pulsing of energy almost palpable in the air. But what truly took his breath away was the sight that greeted him. Suspended in the air around the tree were dozens of ethereal figures, spectral remnants of those who had come to the forest never to leave. They pulsed in time with the strange energy rhythm, their forms flickering like old film footage. Then, as if they were aware of his presence, the specters turned towards him, their faces devoid of any expression. In a chorus of whispers that echoed through the silent forest, they spoke. The door is opening. This is where we'll have to pause for now. I can continue the story in the next response if you'd like. Katsuo froze, his blood running cold at the chilling message. The door? He muttered to himself, shuddering as he considered the implications. His scientific mind wrestled with the supernatural phenomenon in front of him, struggling to understand the inexplicable. Days turned into weeks as Katsuo studied the spectral figures and their cryptic warning. They never strayed from their message, endlessly repeating the same ominous phrase. He began to notice that the rhythm of the energy pulses was slowly increasing, like a heart beating faster and faster. The forest around him started to change. The silence grew more profound, the darkness deeper. The air buzzed with a palpable energy, a static charge that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for something. One night, as Katsuo was dozing in his makeshift camp, he was jerked awake by a sudden surge in energy. His instruments were going haywire, the readings off the charts. The spectral figures were spinning around the ancient tree, their forms flickering wildly. The whispers had turned into frantic screams. The door is opening. The door is opening. Heart pounding in his chest, Katsuo turned towards the ancient tree. What he saw made his blood turn to ice. A rift had appeared in the air, a tear in the fabric of reality. It pulsed with the same rhythm as the energy spikes, growing larger with each beat. As Katsuo watched in horrified fascination, a shape began to form in the rift. It was like nothing he had ever seen, a creature of unfathomable proportions, its form a shifting, writhing mass of darkness. It emanated an energy so powerful, so ancient, that it made Katsuo feel insignificant, a mere speck in the face of the cosmos. He fell to his knees, overcome by the sheer magnitude of what he was witnessing. The whispering specters swirled around him, their voices a deafening crescendo in his ears. The door is open. The door is open. In his terror, Katsuo felt a strange clarity, a chilling understanding of the whisper's warning. He was witnessing an intrusion from another realm, an opening to a cosmic abyss far beyond human comprehension. The forest, the spectral figures, were a haunting echo of the tear and reality, the door the apparition spoke of. The entity continued to emerge, its monstrous form a shifting mass of shadows and shimmering energy. The air itself seemed to warp and distort around it, the world bending under its alien influence. Time seemed to slow, each second stretching into an eternity as the cosmic entity entered their world. Katsuo felt an overwhelming sense of despair, the futility of his existence against the backdrop of the cosmos. He was staring into the face of a force so ancient, so vast, that it was beyond human understanding. But within him, a spark of defiance ignited. He was a scientist, a seeker of truth. If this was his end, he would face it with his eyes open, standing against the tide of cosmic horror. Summoning his strength, Katsuo rose to his feet. He turned to the specters, their formless faces watching the entity's arrival. "Help me," he pleaded, his voice barely a whisper in the turmoil. A silence fell over the clearing. The specters turned towards him, their faces shifting, taking on a more human appearance. "We can't stop it, but we can slow it down," one of them said, its voice echoing in Katsuo's mind. "You must close the door." "But how?" Katsuo cried, his voice trembling with fear and desperation. "Use us," another specter replied. "We are remnants of energy, echoes of the past. Channel our energy, focus it into the rift." Katsuo nodded, understanding their plan. He switched on his instruments, adjusting the settings to focus on the spectral energy. He felt the energy surge through his devices, a torrent of raw, untamed power. As he directed the energy towards the rift, the specters began to fade. One by one, they vanished, their energy channeled into the rift. The entity roared, its form writhing in agony as it was pushed back. But the rift was still open, the entity fighting against the spectral energy. Katsuo knew what he had to do. With a determined look in his eyes, he stepped into the stream of energy. The world blurred around him, time and space warping. The last thing he saw was the rift, the entity being forced back into the cosmic abyss. Then, everything went black. When Katsuo awoke, the forest was quiet. The rift was gone, the ancient tree standing alone in the clearing. His instruments were silent, the energy readings back to normal. The specters were gone, their presence no longer felt in the forest. As Katsuo stumbled out of the forest, he knew that he had witnessed something beyond human understanding, a cosmic horror that lurked in the depths of the universe. But he had stood against it, had pushed back the tide of darkness. The forest was still a place of tragedy, a symbol of human despair. But for Katsuo, it was also a testament to human courage, a reminder that even in the face of cosmic horror, there was hope. And with that hope, he knew that he could face whatever the universe had in store for him. For he had stared into the abyss, and he had survived.